President Trump over the weekend did appear to be laying out his parameters for a potential deal to reopen the government. The president had lunch with South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham yesterday, and afterward Graham said that the border wall is really just a metaphor for border security. He said the president is open to just a physical barrier where it makes sense.
The president's in a good mood, and he feels like he's got to deliver on the promise of securing our border, and he's very open-minded about combining wall funding with other things to make it a win-win for the country.
Now, some of those other things could be changes to immigration policy. Graham mentioned protections for the so-called dreamers. So the good news here is that the definition of a border wall does seem to be open for negotiation. The bad news is that President Trump has changed positions so many times that Democrats say they do not trust him. Now, while the shutdown showdown plays out, the president is also continuing his chess game with China. Trump spoke with President Xi over the weekend, and afterward he tweeted this: "The deal is moving along very well. If made, it will be comprehensive, covering all subject areas and points of dispute. Big progress being made." Guys, if this meeting in Beijing next week between U.S. officials and China goes well, then China will reportedly send a delegation to Washington. But of course, these meetings have been scheduled before, only to be canceled at the last minute. So we'll see how this one plays out and if they actually do have that face-to-face meeting here in D.C. Back over to you.
Ylan, what would be the biggest indicators of some substantial progress where we say, okay, they are actually meeting these goals? We have hard cut numbers. I mean, we used to follow the tweets on a play-by-play basis, but I don't think people are putting quite as much credit in the tweets as they used to.
I think the short answer, Becky, is that we really don't know. I think that throughout this process, so much has come down to the chemistry between the officials who are meeting. When that meeting does occur next week in Beijing with some of the sort of second-tier Treasury and USTR officials, you know, if there is that follow-up indeed, if Liu He, the vice premier in China, comes to Washington, obviously that'll be a good sign. But right now, folks aren't sure of what exactly the guideposts for this discussion are and what the metrics will need to be met will eventually be. We've seen China make some moves already toward taking enforcement actions around stopping companies from requiring them to transfer technology over in China. We've seen them purchase soybeans. We've seen them purchase rice. Do all of these things add up to substantial progress in the president's eyes? That remains to be seen, and really only the president can decide that.